everyone. Today we will be talking about the BDB Data Pipeline 7.6 features. So let's begin. These are the features which we have released in 7.6 for the data pipeline, where we have upgraded the Spark, Scala, and the Kafka version, connection validation in the component, introduced cluster event page, intelligent scaling, introduced connection string option in the Spark Mongo component, aggregate function option introduced in the SQL component, ClickHouse reader and the writer component, data channel enhancement, Kafka producer and consumer enhancement, improved writer performance by including schema definition, and also we have provided high availability supports for the reader, writer, and enrichment components. So these are the features and the enhancement which we have released in the 7.6, where Spark, Scala, and the Kafka versions are upgraded. 3.3.0 for the Spark, 2.12.12 for the Scala, and 3.1.0 for the Kafka. Next feature is a connection validation. This feature helps us to validate the connection details of the DB and the cloud storages. We have provided this option to validate all the connections before activating a pipeline. So just click on the validation icon and validate either the connection is valid or not. Next is a cluster event page. Introduce a cluster event page to monitor the Kafka blockers and the topics related to the pipelines. This feature enables a user to monitor all the events which is created in the pipeline environment. Intelligent scaling is the next feature. So it is a way to scale up the processing speed of the components. A feature to scale your component to the maximum number of instances to reduce the data processing lag automatically. This feature detects the need to scale up the component in case of the higher data traffic. Spark Mongo component. Here introduce the connection string, high availability Mongo option, and the Spark schema upload to reduce the write operation. In the SQL component, we have provided an option aggregation function on complete streaming data that has been processed by the component. Data channel enhancement. In the data channel page, we have introduced the more blocker level insights like number of partitions and the disk usage. Next is a Kafka producer and the consumer enhancement. So here, introduce a Kafka producer component to connect to the external Kafka topics for the different applications. Kafka Consumer supports SSL security type with host aliasing. Next is a ClickHouse support. So now ClickHouse data source option is available for reader, writer, DB Synch, and enrichment component. Data preparation and the DSLab model runner so implemented the required changes to align with the new version of the DSLab module that supports data preparation and AutoML options. Next is a writer performance improvement. So we have improved the writer performance by just including the schema definition. High availability supports for the reader, writer, and enrichment component. So these are the sources where we can achieve the high availability. New components. In this release, we have introduced or implemented new components that is a ClickHouse reader and a ClickHouse writer. Intelligent scaling is a component scaling mechanism which scales your component to the max instance to reduce the data processing lag. Intelligent scaling is a component scaling mechanism. There should be a continuous flow of data to the component. Components will scale up if there is a lag of more than 60%, and if the lag is less than 10%, the component will automatically scale down. The component must be in real time, and this feature is only applicable for the writers and the transformation components. It's applicable only for the Docker components. Once you want to enable this feature, you have to just select or enable the auto scaling checkbox option inside the basic info. You can see here right hand side, I have created the pipeline with API ingestion and the Python component. And the Python component I have configured with the maximum instances uh, with 3 and enable the auto scaling. So once we activate the pipeline, you can see here in the logs, whatever the lags is going on, it will be showing here. Scaling of the Python script having the lag of 100%. Next is the connection validation. Validation connection feature is available in the component properties. So once you click on this validation connection option, your connections will be validated and you will get a message that is the connection is valid, or if it is something wrong, then it will be throwing an error. Here, users can validate the connection before activating the pipeline to avoid getting connection issues. To ensure the given credentials for the connections are correct or not, we can use this feature. Next is a introduced cluster event page. So in this page, all the Kafka topics present in the pipeline will be listed. User can flush and delete all the topics from the pipeline when the pipeline is already in deactivated mode. So left hand side, once you select this option, then all the pipeline with the status, active and expand for the events will be displaying. Once you click on any of the pipeline, all the events and the partition will be showing here with the two options, flush all and the delete all. The user can flush and delete all the events in a single shot using this page. ClickHouse Reader, the new components which we have implemented in this release, that is a ClickHouse Reader and a Writer. Using this, we can read the data from the table of ClickHouse database, and here we have an option to filter the data using the query. ClickHouse Reader Docker component supports only the TCP pods. ClickHouse Writer. ClickHouse Writer writes the data to the ClickHouse database. So once you select or drag and drop this component and configure it, user can write the data into the ClickHouse database. ClickHouse support. Now, reader, writer, DB Synch, and enrichment component have an option, that is a ClickHouse data source option, which helps user can use the ClickHouse and read or write the data based on the requirement. Introduce the aggregate function in the SQL component. SQL component has an option to aggregate functions on completely streaming the data that has been processed by the component. You can see here I've just added the query and select the aggregate query option and upload the schema. Schema should be a JSON Spark schema. You can view the schema, you can download the schema and just save the component, and once you activate it, then it will be processed based on the query and send the data to the out event. Spark Mongo component. Here we have introduced the connection string. So you can see here in the meta information, we have to just select the connection string and then provide or specify all the credentials. And also we have an option, high availability Mongo option and the Spark schema upload to reduce the write operation. So in the Mongo Spark component, we have provided connection string, high availability and the Spark schema upload to reduce the write operation. Now let's get into the demo and see how pipeline features work. So this is a login page of the platform. Here I log in and this is the landing page where I have all the doc which is accessible to me. This is the app launcher which has all the modules of the platform, data preparation, data pipeline, data center, designer, story and all. Once I click on this data pipeline module, then we'll navigate to the pipeline homepage. Left hand side, you can see we have multiple options. List of pipelines where all the pipelines will be listed. List of components, scheduler, delete ports, data channels, cluster events. So in the current release, we have introduced this new page that is a cluster event page. So once I click on this cluster event icon, then user will navigate to the clustered event information page where all the pipeline will be listed, whatever is exists in the same space with the status active and expand for the events column. So these are the pipelines which is existing or which is available in the same space. The status, this displays the status of the pipeline, whether the pipeline is in active or inactive state. So if it is a green means it is an active state, else it is an inactive state. Active column displays whether the pipeline has been deleted or present in the same space. Expands for the events where all the events present in the pipeline will be listed. You can see once I click on any of the pipeline with this option, then all the events name with the partitions will be displayed. And also we have the two options here, two buttons are there, flush all and the delete all. The flush all means all the events, whatever present in the pipeline, will be flushed in a single shot. Once you click on this flush all button, then all the events will be flushed in a single shot. Same as delete all, once you click on this button, then all the events which is present in the pipeline will be deleted in a single shot. And you will get the notification message like all the events will be flushed successfully and or events deleted successfully message. So this is all about the clustered event page. Okay, so now moving to the next feature, that is the connection validation. So I have created one pipeline that is demo 7.6. Just click on the view option, then the pipeline will be open. And here I have created the pipeline which is having three components: SQL component, Mongo component, Mongo reader, and the Mongo writer. So once I click on the component, you can see we have the metadata information where we have to configure the required fields. So validate connection feature is available in the component properties. Right hand side, you can see we have the validate connection icon. So once you configure the component with the required fields, just click on this validate connection icon and validate the credentials. So once the credentials are correct or valid, then you will get the connection is valid notification message. And if it is wrong, suppose I have given the wrong connection string and just click on this validate connection option, then you will get invalid connection message. So this is the feature which helps we can validate the connection, whether the connection is valid or not before activating the pipeline. So now let me show you intelligent scaling feature. So I have created one pipeline that is intelligent scaling API ingestion. So intelligent scaling is a component scaling mechanism. There should be a continuous flow of data to the component. The component must be in real time. So I have configured the component in real time and created the pipeline with API ingestion and the Python component. API and the Python component is used to generate the continuous data. So I have configured intelligent scaling feature in the Python component. So once you click on the component, then you can see this intelligent scaling option will be coming or displaying in the basic information. You have to just enable it and go to the configuration tab and specify the number of instances and the maximum number of instances. So I have specified maximum number of instances with 5 and instance with 1. After that, you have to save the component and activate the pipeline. So first component is the API ingestion component. So need to ingest the data using the Postman. So let me send a request and send the data. So once we have ingest the data successfully, then we'll go to the pipeline flow and check the advanced logs. So number of ports of the component must be same as specified instances as soon as there is more than 60% lag created. Instances will be keep on increasing till it reaches the maximum instances specified. When there is a lag become less than 10%, then the component will start to scale down. So you can see here in the logs also will show the lag, like having like 0%. There's no lag more than 60%. Now let me show you ClickHouse Reader and the Writer component. So this is the pipeline. Just click on this view icon and we'll get the pipeline that already created by me with different components. So we have added or implemented the new component ClickHouse Reader and the Writer, which helps user can read the data from the table of ClickHouse database and write the data into the ClickHouse database. Okay, so just configure the component and with the host port number. So ClickHouse Reader Docker component supports only the TCP port. Okay, so you can see here we just configured with the required fields and then save it. And in the ClickHouse Reader also you can just configure the component with environment variables and just click on it, and then you can just activate the pipeline and you will get the data. So once you activate the pipeline, this component will start reading the data from the ClickHouse DB and then send the data to the event. Other than that, we have the ClickHouse data source, which is supported by different readers, writer, DB Sync, and enrichment component. So you can see here we have the writer, RDBMS writer, and once you go to the metadata information, you can see here we have the driver. So now we have the ClickHouse driver is also there. So this RDBMS reader and the writer supports ClickHouse data source also. So you can configure it and use it. Here we have the reader component, RDBMS reader. So here you can also see I'm just drag and drop the component, and you can see here we have the driver. So ClickHouse, you can use this driver and fetch the data. Enrichment component also supports the ClickHouse. So you can see here we have the driver ClickHouse. Before we have SQL, Oracle, Postgres, MongoDB, SRV, and standard. Now we have the ClickHouse. So enrichment component also supports ClickHouse and also a DB sync. So once you click on the settings tab and the DB sync, and then just click on the create setting, and then you will get an option ClickHouse driver option is also there. So now the ClickHouse data source supports by reader, writer, enrichment with the DB sync. Next enhancement that is done in 7.6, that is a data channel enhancement. So it is available left hand side. You can see data channel page. So once you click on this data channel icon, then the data channel page will open. And here we have introduced the more broker label insights like number of partitions and the disk usage. This page is used to check the state of the Kafka brokers. It shows the health of the brokers, number of partitions per broker, and the disk space used. This green indicates in the status shows the broker is up and running, and if it is a red, the broker is down. So next is the enhancement for the Kafka producer and consumer. So let me open my pipeline, Kafka producer and consumer. Yeah, so this is this is the enhancement where we have introduced the Kafka producer component to connect to the external Kafka topics for the different applications, and the Kafka consumer supports SSL security type with host aliasing. So once I click on this metadata information, you can see here we have this is external option. So user can consume external topic data from the external bootstrap server by just enabling this is external option. So once I enable it, then we have to configure the bootstrap server and the configuration field. So bootstrap server and the configuration field will be displaying after enabling this is external option. Bootstrap server is just we have to enter the external bootstrap server detail, and in the configuration field we have to specify configuration detail of external details. Other than that, it is a topic name. We have to specify the topic name from where you want to consume or where you want to produce the data. And this is a start from a field where we have some fields like latest, beginning, processed, and the timestamp. So it is just like we have using this option, we have consumed the live process data and already processed data from the beginning, latest information, or we want to be consume the latest process data like that. Here we have security type, plain and SSL. So user can choose the SSL option if there is an environment with SSL, and we have to be just specify all the details like just store location, password, key store location, and the key store password. So these options are also available here, and the Kafka producer is external option is there, and like this we have to be specified. So these components are available here in the producer. And so it's a Spark Mongo component. So here we have introduced the connection string and Spark schema upload to reduce write operation. So you can see here in this pipeline, I have added the two component, that is a Mongo reader and Mongo writer with the SQL transformation. So once I click on this metadata information, the connection type drop down will be displayed. Before we have only the two options, standard and SRV, which else we can connect to the DB and fetch the data. Now we have added but more option, that is a connection string. Using this, user can connect to the DB and fetch the data from the specified collection. So once it is done, you can see once you activate the pipeline is already in activated mode. So you can see here we already get the data from Mongo. And in the writer, we have also the same type of connection type. We have introduced connection string. So here also we have the connection string option display here. And one more thing is here also we have provide the schema upload option to improve the overall writing performance. So you can see here we can choose a file and upload the Spark schema, and once it is upload, you can view the schema also, you can remove the schema also, and once it is done, overall performance writing performance will be improved. Provided an high availability support for the reader, writer, and management component. So high availability means multiple IPs can be supported right now. So here we have the component Mongo reader. So you can give the connection string over here in the meta information, which can be supported multiple IPs. And in case of RDBMS, you can give IPs over here. And the corresponding port number. So in this, an RDBMS comma separated IP is over here, and the corresponding port we can give here. So this type of this high availability also support provided in enrichment component also. Next feature is a SQL aggregation. The SQL component has an option to aggregation function on complete streaming data that has been processed by the component. So you can see in this pipeline we have the SQL component. So once I click on the SQL component and go to the metadata information, I have uh, applied one query with aggregate the option. So you can see here in this query type we have the aggregate query option is there. So once it is done, you have to be upload the schema. So I have uploaded the SQL schema, and user can view the schema, download the schema, and also remove the schema. So once it is uploaded, and once you activate the pipeline it is already in activated mode. So you can see here the data is there based on the aggregated function. So I have selected the gender, salary, maximum salary, and the average amount spent.